Hey guys, so in today's video, we're going to be going over installing Mycroft on Ubuntu. So as you can see here, I've already opened up Terminal and I'm going ahead and doing an apt-get update on my Ubuntu, and now I'm going to install Git, which is just a prereq, so I can go ahead and pull down the core here. Obviously, I'm doing this in a VirtualBox because I already have Linux installed, and I figured it'd just be easier to show you guys. You can also do this same concept of installing this in a VirtualBox on Windows as well, and it'll work. So right now, we're just going to clone the repo here. I'm just grabbing the URL and copying it out here. And basically, after we copy the URL, we're going to paste it in here and clone down the repo. And like I said, you can get this URL from the docs.mycroft.ai that you see on the left-hand screen there that I've got coming up. So we're just going to clone into the repo, and then we're going to CD into that folder. And I'm just going through the guide here basically that we already have documented. And after I CD into that folder, I'm going to run the build host setup. And because I'm on Debian or Ubuntu, I'm going to run the Debian version here. So build underscore host underscore setup underscore Debian.sh. And by running that, it's installing a bunch of prereqs that are required for the Mycroft core install to work. And after this is all done, it's installing Python and a bunch of other necessary items. When it's all finished, we'll have another prompt here, and we could proceed then with running the dev setup script. So that should be here in just a second. Yep, so we're done. So now we're going to run the dev setup.sh file to go ahead and get the build process started. One thing to note about this is the mimic piece of this can take a bit to build. So if you're running a bunch of, if you're running this on a machine that has, 4+ cores, I'd recommend dedicating a couple to them just so that you can get the build to go faster. Really, it applies if you're in a virtual environment. So if you're doing VirtualBox, I would recommend giving it, 2 to 3 CPU cores just so that it can build faster. And as you can see here, it's just going to go through and do the whole build, install, and everything. And once it gets down to Mimic, that can take a little bit. So don't get worried if you see it kind of hang here in a second. I'll show you the piece here once it starts up, and then we'll just convert over to the next screen after I've already waited for the Mimic to build. But here in just a second, you're going to see the Mimic piece start building, and that's the part that seems to take the longest of the process, basically. Uh, just a minute here, it'll show up. Right now, right now I'm just going through and setting, excuse me, my sound settings so that way I can use the mic internally inside of the Ubuntu install. So that way, theoretically, if you're running Windows or some other operating system and you're doing this in a VirtualBox, you could have Mycroft work through your Windows install through the VirtualBox to give you information and everything. So I'm just going through right now and setting that up real quick while I was waiting for the Mimic build to finish. As you can see here now, this is the part that takes the longest, where it's cloning into Mimic and so forth. So we're going to skip over this real quick, and I'll see you back at the next screen after we've already completed this. So as you can see now, I just did a PWD to show you that I'm in the Mycroft core folder, and I sent it to my home directory. And so if I run the .mycroft.sh, you can see with the help screen there, I get some options. And so now I'm going to run the start command to actually start up the Mycroft services. And then the next piece is going to be running the start.sh with the CLI quiet. And this actually gives you an interactive CLI into the system. So you can see here I can hit enter and it gives me back, what time it is. And so now I'm going to say pair my device, and it's going to give me a code. So I'm going to copy that pairing code right there. And I'm going to take that and go to the home.mycroft.ai site, scroll all the way to the bottom. I have a bunch of these. And there's an add device option. So we're going to put the registration code in, select that it's a desktop. You can name it anything. I named mine Marvin after the Hitchhiker's Galaxy. And then you can give it a name so that you know what it is. You pair it, you finish. And now once you come back to the system, it should say that it's activated, and you can see there he's saying I'm ready for use. So now if I ask him the weather, it's giving me the weather, but it's giving me the weather for Lawrence, Kentucky, which is the default location for any of the systems until you change them. So you need to go back into the device, find it in your list, click on it, which I'm doing right here. Just trying to find it. And once I click on it, I could change the location. And this can be just a city, it could be a state, it could be your full address, how specific you want it. Once you hit save, it would then immediately update. In this case, it didn't update because at the time there were some back end issues happening. But normally you would see this immediately activate and push down to the system, and you would get the new location for your weather and everything like that. So the next piece I'm going to show you real quick to do is how to actually install a skill as well. So we're going to go to my repo here in just a second. I'm just right now I'm testing again, trying to get the location to clean up. But like I said, this was due to a back end issue that was happening, so it's not actually going to work itself out here. Um, so I'm trying the weather skill again to see if it would take outside of the Lawrence, Kentucky. But like I said, there was a problem at the time, so it wasn't taking it. So next piece, like I said, we're going to now install a skill. So I'm going over to my GitHub, and I've got this skill called Find a TV Show. So it just gives you the next showing of any of the TV shows that are out there. And so inside of the main core folder, there's an MSM folder, and then inside of that is the actual MSM binary. So you have to do MSM/MSM install and then the GitHub URL. And once you've done that, you can then rerun the CLI command again. And now you can see I'm asking it, when's the next episode of Game of Thrones? And it's going to come back and tell me that it was on August 20th, because at the time I recorded this before Sunday. So, and now I'm just trying another thing here, but I think because of the spaces, it wasn't working correctly. So you'll see in a minute, I tried another one called MasterChef here in a second to show you that you could use this with any of the other TV shows. I'm just guessing that America's Got Talent wasn't showing up correctly, or it was something to do with the tabs. Uh, but outside of that, you can see here that we also got logging information in here. So we could see the CLI is great for testing out, your commands, or seeing, the logs while you're doing it as well. So it's a pretty handy tool to use as well. And the main way that you run this, like I said, is the start.sh CLI dash dash quiet, and that'll bring you up here. And that's on the main getting started page as well. So outside of that, that's basically it, right? So we've installed our skill, we set everything up. Now I'm going to show you where the actual log files are. So inside of the same home directory, scripts, logs, mycroft-skills log is the Mycroft skills log. So I'm doing a tail-f to just follow that log basically. And then you can also do a cat here as well to just take a look at the data. So I hope that was informative. I hope you guys learned something from this. Check me out on Patreon. I'll be releasing more content soon as a series like this, and I hope you have a good one. Thanks.